Let me ask you something, okay? Are you staying up late, scrolling endlessly, watching porn, and telling yourself, I just need a little time to unwind? But then you wake up groggy behind schedule and the cycle repeats, right? Well, what if I told you that this late night relief session is actually sabotaging your productivity and keeping you trapped in the very cycle you're trying to escape? You'd probably say, duh, how do I break this pattern, right? And that's exactly what we're going to cover in this video. We're going to explore how sacrificing sleep for fleeting pleasure doesn't just cost you rest, it costs you focus, efficiency, and the very success you're striving for. But more importantly, I'm going to be offering you a frame that'll hopefully make getting your rest on point way easier. So let's break this down so it is nice and clear. When you are overwhelmed with responsibilities, work, family, personal goals, etc., okay? And that leads you then to stay up late, right? Seeking relief because you just feel like, I didn't have any time during the day to myself. I need to get something in, right? That little pleasure-hungry part of yourself feels like, now's my chance. And it tries to get it all in, right? And so you go on a bit of a pleasure binge at night. And then what happens? Well, you get less sleep, okay? Because you're trying to just chase that downtime. What's the fall off? Well, the next day, you're tired, you're unfocused, you're less productive. And then because of that, you fall behind, your performance falters. That creates more stress, right? And then the cycle repeats, and often it can spiral downward pretty quickly if you don't get a handle on it. Now, the obvious answer is like, I need better downtime. But then the immediate response is like, well, I can't afford to do that, right? I have to be productive. I've got all these people relying on me. I've got clients to serve. I've got, family to feed and pay for college, right? I need to be able to be there for my wife too. Like there is no time in the day for me. So studies show that sleep deprivation leads to a 29% drop in productivity. Let's call it 30, all right? 30% drop in productivity when you are not getting enough rest. So what does that mean? Well, if you're running on empty, you're not getting the right kind of rest and you're still grinding out a 40-hour work week, in reality, you're only getting 28.4 hours worth of output. You work 40 hours, you only get 28.4 hours of results. And that's because you're tired and you're running at a lower level of efficiency. Now, let's flip this, okay? If you're fully rested, well, you can hit that 28.4 hours of output in just 28.4 hours, right? And so if you think about that, it's like, I can get the same amount of work done and have 11.6 extra hours in the week. And so if you divided up that 11.6 hours Monday through Friday, you can get the same amount done that you currently do, feel a million times better, and gain almost 2 additional hours a day that you could use for actual fun, actual enjoyment, real you time rather than that, lame shit you do late at night that you feel terrible about later. So let that sink in. By prioritizing your sleep, meaning getting 8 hours a night, okay? 7 to 8 hours, depending on how you're built. For some people, it's 9, like me, okay? You're not only avoiding porn relapses, you're actually gaining back enough time to enjoy your life, to be a better father, be a better husband, and be a better man. So here's the reframe, all right? You get to the end of the day, you're hungry for some pleasure, and you say, and part of you just wants to stay up late and chase it there, doing stuff that's not good for you. It doesn't really align with who you want to be. And so you want to take that part that's hungry for pleasure and you want to say, hey, I see you, all right? We do want pleasure and we're going to get it, but we're going to get it the smart way. And that means we're going to go to sleep so that we can be more productive. And then we're going to make sure that there is space for real fun. Okay. And this is the hard part. This is the part that so many guys really struggle with. They don't know how to create that space. They don't know how to make sure that they can actually work through all those senses of obligation that are putting them in this perpetual work grind mode that makes their life, constantly stressful and keeps them hooked on porn. So there's 2 parts to this solution. Okay. The first part is just the internal permission. Okay. It's just the knowing that I need this. All right. My family needs this. God needs this from me. I need to find a way to break this stress-induced relapse to porn, okay? And so that's one piece of it. Another piece is like, okay, well, I'm actually going to become more productive this way. This is actually how I'm going to get more done and feel better doing it. And the final and perhaps most critical part of this inner work is granting yourself the dignity to know that you are not just a work machine, all right? That you also, to some level, deserve to enjoy your life. And in fact, a huge part of you demands that you enjoy your life. That's the part that keeps reaching for porn because you keep rejecting it. And if you can really internalize these things, then you're going to be able to stop trying to just get all that pleasure in an authentic way at night. But then the next question becomes, all right, is there a more tactical way that I can apply this? Like, what am I actually going to do with my pleasure? Where is it going to go? How is it going to fit? And this is really what the Craving Kill Box training is all about. And this is a strategy that I developed where if you can use a calendar, you can start quitting porn. And it's a simple technique, but it's incredibly powerful. And I've seen, particularly for the guys who are on the overwhelm side of a porn addiction, they're overloaded, they're stressed, they're just using it as that release valve. It works perfectly for these types of guys. And so if that's you, you got a business, you got a family, you got all this stuff, then check out the Craving Kill Box training now. It's free, it's 15 minutes, and you can grab it by just clicking the link in the description. So hopefully you found this useful. Hopefully you've got a new perspective on how important rest is for you. And, I hope to see you in the Craving Kill Box training. Oh yeah, see you in the next one.